see. Hey. Welcome, everybody, to an episode of Change Starts With Us, Ohio. Today, our guest is Father Walters, who is also the chaplain of Cuyahoga County Jail. Welcome, Father.
Thank you, James.
I don't know. Do we call you Father or chaplain? I know I called you chaplain.
Whatever you want to
Okay. I know years ago we called you guys chaplain at the county jail. So
I always say that the African Americans call me Rev or Chap.
right.
The Hispanic people call me Padre, and most of the Caucasian guys call me Fada.
Oh, so yeah. So you're one of them. Right. Well, a gentleman on death row, James Pesh, gave me your name and asked me to contact you. He said that he was in the county. I don't know if he was in the county jail when you were there or.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yes.
I know that part of his case was from Lorraine and then the other part from, Medina and then.
Correct. Yes.
And then part from Cuyahoga County. But the new developments that just took place, I don't know if it was today or yesterday that came out about the death penalty in Ohio, that they're no longer going to do lethal injection. And I don't believe they can bring back the electric chair, to my knowledge. Either they're going to have to find another way to execute or they're going to have to do away with the death penalty total in Ohio. How do you feel about the death, at least what you're seeing today?
Well, there are a number of problems with it, obviously. First of all, the Pope said it's Catholic teaching that you shouldn't use the death penalty if you have the means to incarcerate somebody for life and keep society safe. And we do have those means. So,
right.
So right off the bat, there's a problem with the death penalty. Probably another problem is, do we always have a guilty person? And that I think is very problematic throughout the whole justice system.
Right.
The question of they might be found guilty, but are they really? There's problems in the whole business. And then when we do get to guilty people, and I've known numerous people who did commit murders, well, then ask the question why. Many are mentally ill. Some of them came from horrible backgrounds, that damaged them. I had one guy, he was convicted of 3 attempted murders, so thank God he didn't murder these people.
Right.
It was all PTSD from his military history. He was a war hero.
Right.
And now he's doing time for attempted murder. So, to be looking at what are the causes, what's going on here.
That putting somebody to death is not going to change what happened at the beginning.
Correct.
And I'm pretty sure we've executed innocent people in the past, and we probably will still if we don't do away with it. If you claim to be pro-life, like a lot of my fellow Republican senators, they say they're pro-life from the moment of conception to natural death. That leaves the death penalty totally out then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I believe you just touched base on that from what you said the Pope said.
Yeah, and I think it's in our catechism, the new catechism, that states that the death penalty is not acceptable if we have other means of protecting society and if need be, punishing somebody, And somebody once said that we're better than this. That to be putting somebody to death that looks bad for us.
All right. Well, I was thinking the other day, I was talking to a nurse. I said, how can a nurse sit there and put a needle in the guy's arm and take an oath that they're going to help people get better? I cannot understand it. Then the chaplain there, praying with the guy, I don't think I could do it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not the praying part, but being at an execution.
Yeah. I think it would be very.
Right.
It affects us. It affects us.
Right. And I've gotten close to a few of the guys. I just talked to the guy that was part of the Lucasville Five who was not guilty of it. He actually saved an officer's life, but two guys pointed him out that actually did the murders, and got him convicted. And so he's on death row now. That's George Skates.
That's part of the irony is oftentimes it's the real criminal, or for example, the real murderer, who will, point at someone else and say they did it.
Right.
That was the case with Joe D'Ambrosio, who I mentioned to you, who got off of death row. That was also the case of I knew two guys who were not put on death row, but they were accused and convicted of a murder, and they were completely innocent.
Right.
It was the real culprit who was the state's witness.
Yeah, and I know Joe pretty well, and I've heard of the priest that helped him, and I would love to get him on one day. Because we had to get more and more people, people from all religions, and let them know that this is not acceptable.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think any church should ever preach to murder somebody, like that, or preach abortions.
Right, correct. Right.
But it's happening.
And let's remember that in our faith tradition as Catholics, we believe that the Son of God was on death row, and they made a mistake.
Oh, I didn't think about that, but I guess he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was, convicted by the court of his time, and it's striking that if you read the accounts of the crucifixion in the Gospels, they're all riled up. It's like, yeah, let's do this guy. And then after it's over, they just all leave quietly. Sort of like you realize you made a mistake, but it's too late.
Right.
And as you said, like the nurse putting the needle in somebody's arm or whatever. This stuff affects us and makes us worse people, really.
You're right. Sometimes we're our worst enemy too when it comes to stuff like this. We have to be able to overcome and really help with change, and that's a national problem, not just a state problem. I kind of remember you from back in the 80s. You're a young priest at the time at the Justice Center.
Correct. Yeah, I was actually still a seminarian.
Yeah, and I was kind of a jerk at the time. And I remember.
I probably was too.
I remember you.
I still am.
Yeah, I remember you asked me about something about church or something, and I said something real nasty because I didn't want to hear it at that time. I was going away, so I didn't need God anymore. Kind of attitude, but I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But what does your job entitle? What do you do actually at the Justice Center? People would be interested in hearing that.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question right now because with the COVID and all that great stuff. I've been chaplain for 21 years there now as a priest, and much of that time I worked with a deacon, Martin Seal, wonderful guy.
I know him.
Now. Okay, yeah, because he was there.
Yeah,
he was there years ago as well, and Marty and I, we had a large number of volunteers. We did all sorts of stuff. We were chaplains, but also kind of like social workers, travel agents. Like for example, let's say you're extradited from Florida and you're brought up to Cuyahoga County because you have a warrant, and now you're released. How do you get home? Well, we sent people home. We get them on Greyhound buses. We did anything we could to help people.
Wow, I didn't even know you guys helped with that.
Oh yeah. We've done it all. Believe me. We used to pass out, stamped envelopes for all of the indigent inmates.
Right.
Hygiene, books, magazines, novels.
Bibles, I hope.
Yeah, Bibles are in there too.
So
exactly. And then, of course, during church services, and I did a lot of confessions and anointings myself, being the only priest.
right.
And so we did it all. But now with this whole COVID business, a lot's been shut down, and we're sort of in a. Actually, I no longer have any volunteers at the jail. I'm kind of on my own as a Catholic minister.
Oh.
We hope to, build it up again.
Right.
Once things get back to our new normal, whatever that might be.
Well, we go down to the Justice Center once a year for a protest. The next time, maybe we can meet for coffee or something.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I should be there.
we started going down there after the issue of so many people died in there over, I don't know if it was over a few months or what.
Right, correct.
And some people was held accountable for it. And that's all we can ask for is, these are people as well, and they should be treated with respect. They should not be discriminated against, no matter what their past is or anything. They should be treated as humans.
Correct. I agree. And we struggle with that certainly in the jail as well as in the prison system overall. I think what we do to people is deplorable.
Yeah. And, in Columbus, I would take guys to church once in a while too, really the local churches. And we all have been asked to leave several of the churches, except the Catholic Church.
Really?
Right. And I'm not even Catholic, but I don't tell them that, though, because I want to be able to come in. So,
yeah.
But they treat the people with respect, and they. One of them even gives out lunch and stuff throughout the week, and the guys go up there whenever they can.
Now, did you ever end up in Lebanon or Warren Correctional?
Yes, both.
Okay. So, a friend of mine used to be pastor at Our Lady of Sorrows, which is right in that neighborhood, and they were the ones that had a prison minister. I think her name was Christine.
Oh, okay.
You remember her?
Yeah.
And they always told them. I think they always told me. He said, this church up the hill. It's Our Lady of Sorrows, and that's your parish. And numerous guys would get out of prison and go up to the church and say, I'm among your parishioners, and it was really great.
I wished other churches would reach out and be willing to help, because if we could bring churches together and faiths together, you're going to see some big changes.
Oh, yeah.
One church can't do it themselves.
Well, and I'll tell you another problem with the death penalty. This doesn't give anybody a second chance, And anybody who wants to challenge that, there's a book I believe it's called The Prisoner, by James Townsend. And he was born in the 1920s in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area, murdered his wife while she was pregnant, went to prison. He was just bad to the bone, no redeeming qualities at all. He had a conversion. He ended up getting paroled later in life, and he became a religious brother with the Capuchin friars, Franciscans, and actually ministered here in Cleveland and in Pennsylvania.
Right. Some of my closest friends in Cleveland, because I used to go with the Holy Name Society to the Rally for Life in Washington, but Father Heron and some of them, he was the one that actually changed my mind about Catholics. I know what I was taught growing up, and Father Heron was just unique and real kind. And he started giving me books to read.
He was unique and he was kind. Well, why is that unique? We should all strive to be kind.
I've been in churches where the pastors were not kind to us. So,
yeah.
We were asked to leave, and we had to still try to find a way, for spiritual, for these guys when they come out. Because one thing one of the first things they look for is either a church. It could be a synagogue, a Catholic church, Protestant. Some of them are Wiccans and Islam that's coming out as well. So,
Right.
And some we're pretty good at finding, and others were not as good, but we try.
Yeah, and it's so sad that we don't, even as a church, we don't believe in second chances, and yet that's what Jesus was all about. Read the story of Zacchaeus, who was he was a greedy guy in town, and he says, "Well, I'm going to have dinner with you tonight, Zacchaeus." And Zacchaeus changes.
Wasn't he the one that was stealing money from people?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he climbed the tree so
he
could see Jesus coming because he was of small stature.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite Bible stories as a kid.
Yeah.
But
we need to believe that, no matter what anybody's done, they can change, and God can change them.
True. I mean, I don't think I really don't think we can change on our own without God.
Right. Right. I agree.
I've tried, and I've been in and out, and finally I made it, and I've been out 11 years now. But it was my way or no way for so many years. My father was in politics in the Cleveland area in Parma Heights. My cousin Kathy Cronenberg worked for Fox 8, and they made a big deal of it because my dad was in politics. So, and they went right after family.
And then that's, again, another problem with the justice system is,
right.
The political end of it.
And Cuyahoga County, there's been so much corruption over the last few years that you really have to pray for those guys, even if they are people in authority. You hope that they can change.
Right.
There's just so many things that's happening that, Franklin County as well. It's not just Cuyahoga County. I moved out of there just because I had bad experiences in Cleveland. Now, have you ever been down to death row in Chillicothe?
Yes, I have. I visit Jimmy Tench, and there's a guy, George Brinkman, who I also know well from the county. And he's on death row.
He just left a message for me the other day, George Brinkman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't know him. I know quite a few of them. The thing is, I want to give them hope, but and give them a reason to live. One guy told me the other day is if they would abolish the death penalty, they're going to get life without parole, and he said he would rather be executed. And I kind of, I kind of get it, and I understand it.
Well, and let me tell you about George. When I first met George, so George is guilty of killing 5 people in one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And you just wonder where that all came from, because he's a pleasant guy to talk to.
Right.
He doesn't really understand why he did what he did. He just, But George was a guy, I encouraged him to go to death row because you have a single cell, you have a consistent population, and you can be left alone. And George is very, well, when he was at Cuyahoga County, he was not allowed to be around anyone. So I was his only connection, and I brought him books, and he was a voracious reader.
Wow.
I talked to these guys who are in general population. For example, like Terry Huff, who he was the firefighter who shot his neighbors.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Terry was in Lorraine Correctional as a cadre. He was doing well there, and then they couldn't have serious offenses at Lorraine, so they moved him to Toledo. Toledo wasn't too bad for him. He had a single cell.
Right.
He worked. Well, now he's in Richland Correctional.
Yeah, which most people don't like. If you've been down any time, it's all dorms and kids.
Right, that's the problem. And you're just surrounded, and there's no escape of people. and it's been very hard on them.
Yeah. Well, the gangs are real bad in Richland, especially Mansfield.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not the gangs of the 80s and 70s. These are more wannabe type gangs, but they try to follow their father's footsteps.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't support any gang. I mean, I was part of one just because I was young, and that's what you did when you were young and you got locked up. But I got away from it, and I really don't want to see any of the gangs that are inside the system now. You got the Heartless Felons, which is the worst gang around now.
Right.
Nobody wouldn't even know what they are unless they were locked up.
Yeah, it's just a horrible environment, and we call it rehabilitation and correction, and it's anything but.
Yeah, you're right on that, but we have one person asking, is there any spiritual leaders now in the prisons during the pandemic? Yes, there is. There's the state hired attorney. I mean, chaplains are present usually,
Yes.
and they're supposed to have two per institution. Marion Correction has a deacon. A deacon's like a priest, right, from the Catholic Church.
Or yes, he's an ordained man.
Okay.
The Catholic Church.
Yeah, because he wears the same clothes that a priest wears.
Mm-hmm.
This guy did, and I used to talk to him all the time. He would come in, and I don't know if he did communion. I can't remember, but he would come in twice a week. But then we had two chaplains that was actually state chaplains, which they did away with all the state ones now.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty much all contract. The state saves money, and the state likes to get chaplains that will compromise their belief so they don't cause the state any trouble.
Now you were in Marion.
Yeah, I did my last 11 years there.
Do you remember Father Fury?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a legend down there, and he was there, full time.
Boy, was he old.
Was he?
Yeah. I mean, and he was there for years.
Yeah.
Because I used to go to mass all the time, just because all my friends went to mass, so I went as well. But he was a caring person.
Yeah, he had a very good reputation. I knew a number of guys that knew him pretty well.
Have you ever thought about going to a prison to be a chaplain?
I really don't think there's much of an opportunity right now.
I don't know. I don't think they all have Catholic priests that are working there full time.
Correct.
I think they come in, I don't know, a couple days a week or something. But you have Grafton up there, Lorraine up there, that might be a possibility. I did some time at Grafton too, and I was a cadre in Lorraine.
Okay.
So
you probably knew Father Charlie Ryba.
Yeah, I knew who he was. I don't know if I ever really talked to him much. I just, they come and go so fast that you never really get to know one.
Yeah. As contractors, it's become more and more constricted. Like I said, in the old days, Deacon Marty and I we did it all, and we spent time with people. And,
right.
We had, wonderful prayer services and masses, and sometimes they last an hour or two.
Right.
That's because we get people talking and sharing.
Right. What made you become a chaplain in the county jail over a parish?
Well, I, to some extent, I sort of fell into it, but as a seminarian, I was assigned to the county jail.
Oh, okay.
And then my first two assignments were in south of Cleveland. I was in Worcester, and then I was in Akron for 5 years.
Okay.
5 years each assignment. And I did have some dabbling in their jails there, but then I ended up back in Cleveland. And I was replacing a priest who was dying of cancer, and I really didn't have much to do in the parish because the pastor kind of ran the whole show.
Right.
And I was sort of thinking, I should do something. And I decided, I'll call the jail and see if they can use some help. So I started volunteering 1 day a week. And at the county, we had a priest and a deacon who were both part-time. Well, the priest got transferred, and I started filling in for him 1 day a week, 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week.
Right.
And then the diocese just decided to make that part of my assignment. So that's sort of how I got there.
Okay, we had somebody just made a comment that he is a chaplain, reentry coordinator in Mississippi. So, and this guy, I know him. He was wrongfully convicted and really was not given a fair chance. And I do believe some of the states, Mississippi and some of the other ones, still have some racial issues that need to be straightened out. And we as a group will never participate in any type of discrimination. I don't care if it's against what a person did wrong in his life, race or gender. We're not good. We're not perfect that we can judge someone.
Right.
And sometimes I admit sometimes it's hard for me. But I learned not to ask anybody what they were incarcerated for because I don't like being judged, so I don't want to judge others.
Mm-hmm. See, my approach is different. I will talk to people about whatever they did or didn't do, and
right.
But then getting to the bottom of it, like I said, okay, so where did all this come from? And
right.
What's going on in your life? And some people are walking around with more baggage than Amtrak, and,
right?
And they need to, unload it and in a healthy way, So
yeah.
I think coming to understand people and learning about people, that disarms our judgments. And then you do the old thing of there, but for the grace of God go I.
Right. Very true.
I have often told people at the county, and I've meant this, that if I'd been in your shoes, I would have done the same thing or worse.
Yeah. And nobody really knows unless if they were put in that position. I mean, I think most people would protect their families.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, I did something that was uncalled for, but there's other people that did it for self-defense. And at the time, they did not have a self-defense law. They do now, though. But this is kind of exciting, and we'd like to get updates from you periodically. And when we have our protest in Cleveland, which will be late spring or summertime, hopefully the pandemic is over by then. Maybe we could meet for coffee or something, since I do drink a lot of coffee. But sometime I might even try to get some of our board members a tour through the county jail. I don't know too many of the people there like I used to.
Right. Yeah, it's all changed.
Yeah.
Believe me.
But that's where it starts for everybody, is in the county jail.
Right.
And when I got locked up, we didn't have CRC or Lorraine, so I went straight to Mansfield. A lot of things have changed since then, and I don't know if things will ever get better because I think the director's hands are tied from whatever the governor's doing. And somebody's got to be responsible for all those prisoners that have died.
Right.
And they have family too who loves them just as much. Well,
yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, Father, I really appreciate you joining us today. And if you could send me the information for that priest and Joe's information.
Sure. And
we'll see if we could get them on sometime. And, I really appreciate your honesty and your, opposing the death penalty. We need your help on that.
Well, I'm with you. I mean, that should be pretty obvious for anybody that, follows Jesus Christ. We don't believe in it,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I supported it before I got locked up, though. And then I started seeing stuff that my cell used to be right above the death chamber in Lucasville years ago. And nobody could sleep the night. Right at midnight, you knew somebody was going to be executed. We could not sleep. And I still can't, when I know somebody's being executed, even the guy that just got executed from Texas, who should not have been. I interviewed him about a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, we'll get you back on again, Father, and thank you for joining us.
Okay, sure thing. It's good talking to you, James.
Th-
Keep up the good work.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That is Father Walters. He's a chaplain at the Cuyahoga County Jail. He's going to try to hook me up with the chaplain that helped Jim Brogy get out. He was on death row at the time. And I would really like to interview him and maybe even Jim at the same time. Right now, Lori Rayburn is chairing our committee on the death penalty. We're going to try to join forces with Senator Antonio from Lakewood, and she's got quite a bit of Republican support on that. And we're going to fight with them. This is something that really needs to get done, everybody. And we thank you all for joining us. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get this off here. And I'm not, like I always say, I'm not that smart. Okay, everybody. Thank you.